Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever wondered why the people you love most sometimes treat you like you're invisible? It's not your fault, it's what you've been taught to accept. Today, let's dive into the topic of self-worth, emotional boundaries, and the power of walking away when you're no longer being valued. If you're tired of being the one who always gives more, this video will help you reclaim your voice, raise your standards, and finally feel seen for who you truly are. If you're ready to turn your pain into power, hit that subscribe button and let's grow together. You are not invisible, even if someone acts like they can't see you. Every moment they choose to look past you says more about them than it ever will about you. The truth is, when someone overlooks your presence, it's because they are blinded by their own insecurities or distracted by things that don't hold half your value. You don't need to fight for a place in someone's life when your existence itself is already enough. Trying to prove your worth to someone who is committed to misunderstanding you is a battle you were never meant to fight. If they can't recognize your presence, your energy, your essence, it's not your job to shrink until you fit into their limited view. The moment you start bending just to be seen, you start breaking. And for what? To be accepted by someone who never deserved you in the first place? There is no validation more powerful than the one you give yourself. Because no one gets to define you unless you hand them the pen. Sometimes the silence from someone hurts more than words ever could, but silence isn't always a rejection, sometimes it's protection. When someone chooses to ignore you, they're revealing what they're capable of. Believe them the first time. Stop excusing behavior that makes your spirit shrink. You are not hard to love. You are not asking for too much. You're just asking the wrong person. And maybe that's what you needed to see. Sometimes the universe removes people from your life, not to hurt you, but to save you from settling. Let them go, let them ignore. Because what they refuse to appreciate, someone else will fight to keep. It's not arrogance to value yourself, it's survival. And you've survived long enough to know that you didn't come this far to chase what's not meant for you. Your worth doesn't decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Just because someone doesn't applaud your presence doesn't mean you're not extraordinary. You've climbed mountains, healed wounds, stood tall through heartbreak, and smiled when you had every reason to give up, and you did it all without needing their approval. That's power. That's worth. You don't need to remind anyone of your value. The ones who see it won't make you beg for their attention, and the ones who don't, let them walk. Let them scroll past your soul like it's just another post. You're not a placeholder, you're the whole damn picture. Start acting like it. When you start respecting yourself, you automatically shift the room. People feel it, they notice the way you carry yourself, even in silence. That's why you don't need to chase. The right people gravitate, and the wrong ones, they fade away like dust on the mirror that you finally wipe clean. Ignoring someone can be a tactic of control, but you don't play those games. You don't beg for what's yours. You attract it by being you. And when you let your light shine without apology, you become impossible to ignore, not because you're loud, but because you're real. And in a world full of fake affection and filtered attention, being real is revolutionary. You've been taught that being chosen is the goal, but let's rewrite that story. Being chosen by someone who only values you when it's convenient isn't a prize, it's a trap. The real win is choosing yourself. Choosing peace over patterns, choosing standards over loneliness, choosing silence over drama, and most of all, choosing not to participate in your own emotional starvation. Because every time you accept less than you deserve, you train yourself to forget your power. But now, it's time to remember, time to realign. Time to take all the energy you've been giving away and invest it into yourself. There is nothing more magnetic than a person who knows they are already enough. Let them watch as you rise. Not because you want to make them regret ignoring you, but because you've realized their attention isn't the prize your peace is. This is not about revenge, this is about release. Releasing the need to be seen, understood, validated by people who can't even face themselves. You've begged for the bare minimum for too long. You've watered dead plants and prayed they'd bloom. But love isn't built on potential. It's built on presence. And if someone can't be present for you, they don't deserve the gift of you. You are not hard to love. You are just done begging for breadcrumbs. It's okay to feel hurt when someone ignores you. That pain is real. But let that pain teach you something. Let it teach you to stop shrinking yourself. just to be accepted. Let it teach you that silence can be an answer, and it often says everything. Don't fight for clarity from someone who benefits from keeping you confused. You deserve directness. You deserve consistency. You deserve someone who sees you, chooses you, and shows up not when it's easy, but always. And until then, you show up for yourself, again and again. Because you're not waiting to be rescued, you're reclaiming your power. You are not disposable. You are not a phase, a maybe, or an afterthought. You are not someone to be benched until they're ready. You are the main event, not a commercial break in someone else's story. And if they can't handle your fullness, let them go settle for something less. You are not here to shrink, to dim, or to dilute your brilliance. You are here to expand, to glow, to evolve with or without them. So stop wondering why they didn't choose you. Start asking why you ever thought they were qualified to. The real question isn't why they ignored you, it's why you allowed their ignorance to define your worth for even a second. One day, you'll look back and thank them for ignoring you, because it led you back to yourself, to your power, to your purpose. It reminded you that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay. Some are lessons in disguise, and you're the kind of person who turns pain into power and rejection into redirection. So let them ignore you, let them think you'll wait forever, and then surprise them not with bitterness, but with how beautifully you rise. Because the greatest revenge isn't rage, it's glowing in your truth so brightly. There's a rare kind of strength in walking away, not out of anger, not out of revenge, but out of deep, quiet self-respect. The kind that whispers, I love you, but I love myself more. It's never easy to step away from what you once hoped for, especially when your heart is still invested. But choosing yourself doesn't mean you didn't care. It means you finally realized that staying was costing you your peace. And nothing is worth that price. Walking away is not weakness, it's clarity. It's knowing the difference between waiting to be seen and choosing to be whole. It's honoring your worth enough to stop begging for what should have been freely given. You don't always need to explain why you left. Not everyone deserves your reasons, especially those who made you feel like you were too much for asking for so little. When someone makes you question your value, the most powerful thing you can do is leave quietly and rebuild loudly. Let your silence speak volumes. Let your absence echo louder than your presence ever did. The ones who take you for granted always hear your silence louder than your words. It's not your job to teach them how to love you. It's your job to love yourself enough to walk away when they don't. Because staying in a place where you're unappreciated only teaches you how to live half alive. When you finally decide to walk away, you reclaim pieces of yourself you didn't even know you lost. You find the courage that was buried beneath compromise. You feel your soul exhale, as if it's been holding its breath for far too long. There's a freedom in choosing yourself, a kind of peace that no apology or half-hearted affection could ever offer. Sometimes it's not about finding someone else. It's about finding your way back to the version of you that existed before you tried to fit into someone else's broken mold. You owe yourself that return. And once you arrive, you realize you were never lost. You were just waiting to be chosen by you. People often stay in situations that deplete them because they fear being alone more than being unhappy. But there's something sacred about solitude. It gives you space to heal, to breathe, to grow without someone else's noise in your ears. When you're alone, you're not being abandoned, you're being realigned. You start hearing your own voice again. You start choosing yourself without guilt. And in that space, you begin to realize that being alone is not the enemy. Settling is. If someone cannot meet you at your depth, don't drown trying to bring them there. Let them stay shallow. You were meant to swim in deeper waters. There will be moments when doubt creeps in, when your heart whispers, maybe I should have stayed, or what if they change? But remember this, the version of them you hoped for was never real. You were in love with potential, not reality. And it's time to stop falling in love with illusions. What's real doesn't make you chase, beg, or question your worth. What's real shows up, chooses you, and makes you feel safe, not confused. So when doubt knocks, remind yourself of why you left. Revisit the pain, not to stay stuck in it, but to remember what freedom feels like. You didn't lose love, you found courage. A thing is realizing that you trained someone to expect the bare minimum from themselves when dealing with you. You forgave things that made your chest tighten. You ignored red flags because you didn't want to seem difficult. You laughed off pain to keep the connection alive. But love without standards isn't love, it's sacrifice. And you weren't born to live your life on a plate someone picks up only when they're hungry. Stop being so available to people who only remember you when it's convenient. When you raise your standards, you'll lose some people, but you'll find yourself. And that's a trade worth making. The problem isn't that people don't know how to treat you, it's that they know exactly how far they can go. They test your limits not because they're confused, but because they want to see what they can get away with. Every ignored message you tolerate, every cancelled plan you accept, every careless word you let slide, it all adds up, not just for them, but for you. Slowly, your confidence starts to shrink. Your voice becomes quieter. Your needs get buried under, it's not a big deal. But it is a big deal. Because how you allow others to treat you becomes the story you tell yourself about what you're worth. Rewrite that story now. Letting someone get comfortable with disrespect doesn't just hurt you in the moment, it reshapes your expectations of every future connection. You start to question whether you're asking for too much, whether consistency is unrealistic, whether you should settle for a love that sometimes shows up. But deep down, the more you tolerate, the more you forget what it feels like to be genuinely valued, and then the bar drops. You accept less, not because it's enough, but because it's more than what you've known. Raise the bar again. You are not hard to love. You are just done letting someone love you lazily. There is a silent kind of power in withdrawing your energy from someone who took it for granted. You don't need to scream, argue, or beg. Just stop participating in your own disrespect. Stop pouring into a cup that never pours back. The day you stop trying to prove your worth is the day you reclaim it. And when they notice your absence, because they always do, they'll either step up or step out. Either way, you win. Because you've shown the world, and more importantly yourself, that your love isn't free, it comes with standards. And the first rule is simple. If you want access to me, respect is the price of entry. Sometimes the reason people mistreat you is because you haven't made them work for your presence. You give too quickly, forgive too easily, and stay too long. But love isn't about how much you can endure. It's about how deeply you can respect yourself while still being open to others. If someone's presence drains you more than it fills you, then what exactly are you holding on to? Stop making excuses for behavior that wouldn't fly if you truly believed in your own value. You are not someone to be tolerated. You are someone to be treasured. And if they can't see that, let them go and let better find you. You're not asking for too much when you ask for consistency. You're not being needy when you expect to be prioritized. You're not overreacting when you point out mixed signals and emotional distance. You're asking for what should already be standard. So don't let anyone make you feel guilty for having expectations. Your boundaries are not burdens. Your standards are not problems. They're proof that you finally see yourself as worthy. And when you truly believe in that worth, you'll stop handing out your energy like it's disposable. You'll start protecting it like it's gold, because it is. There's a shift that happens when you start living from a place of self-respect instead of people-pleasing. You no longer beg for clarity, you require it. You don't chase love, you attract it. You don't stay where you're tolerated, you walk where you're celebrated. And when people try to test the old version of you, they'll be met with silence and locked doors. You've grown, you've learned. You've finally understood that how people treat you is just a reflection of what they think they can get away with. So don't just raise the bar up the bar, and let the world rise to meet you. Rejection can sting deeper than most wounds, especially when you've given your heart, your time, and your energy to someone who made you believe you mattered. But rejection is not the end of your story. It's the moment you are rerouted towards something that aligns better with your growth. When someone chooses to walk away, or worse, ignore your presence, it doesn't define your worth. It defines their capacity. Their silence is not a mirror reflecting your shortcomings. It's a spotlight, revealing their inability to recognize greatness. And while it may hurt now, in time, you'll look back and realize that the door they closed led to a hallway of strength, healing, and discovery you never would have found otherwise. It's natural to ask yourself, what did I do wrong? Or why wasn't I enough? But those are the wrong questions. The truth is, sometimes people don't have the emotional bandwidth to value something real. They fumble souls that shine too brightly. They walk away from hearts that love too honestly. And that's not on you. You didn't lose because you weren't lovable. You lost someone who didn't know how to love. Rejection, in those cases, is not a punishment. It's protection from settling for a love that would have always kept you questioning your value. And now you're free to find something and someone that answers with clarity what you once asked in confusion. Pain can be a powerful teacher. Rejection forces you to look inward, to examine the parts of you that need healing and the standards you once compromised, not to blame yourself, but to understand yourself. Sometimes the person who let you down was only there to show you what not to accept moving forward. Their absence makes space for your return to self-respect. When they chose to walk away, they also made room for you to walk towards something better. That lesson might be uncomfortable, but it's essential. Because without rejection, you might have stayed. You might have continued giving your all to someone who was only giving you fragments. There is beauty in the moment you stop asking why they left and start asking why you stayed so long. That shift in focus changes everything. You begin to see the red flags you ignored, the needs you silenced, the version of yourself you lost trying to be enough. And in that reflection, something powerful happens, you awaken. You start to reclaim the pieces you gave away too freely. You rebuild the boundaries that once kept you safe. And most importantly, you understand that your value was never tied to their approval. Their rejection simply exposed where your self-love needed reinforcement. You may be tempted to chase after closure, to seek answers from someone who has already shown they don't value your voice. But sometimes closure isn't a conversation, it's a decision. A decision to stop seeking peace in places that broke you. A decision to accept that no response is, in fact, a response. And most of all, a decision to move forward without needing someone else's permission to heal. Rejection can become the beginning of your liberation if you let it. Let it fuel your journey. Let it sharpen your clarity. Let it push you into a version of yourself that doesn't settle for crumbs when you deserve a feast. As you grow, you'll begin to realize that being rejected is often a divine redirection. What felt like loss was actually guidance. What felt like heartbreak was a breakthrough. You can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to what was meant to end. Some connections are only meant to serve a season, not a lifetime. Their role was to awaken your standards, not fulfill your dreams. And once their part in your story ends, it's your job to keep writing, to not get stuck rereading a chapter that was never meant to be your whole book, because what lies ahead is bigger than what was left behind. The sting of rejection may linger, but the lesson lasts longer. You'll start to notice the way your standards rise. You'll no longer entertain emotional inconsistency. You'll spot red flags before they even unfold.